Police say when the car backed into this alley, it took out parts of 2 fences, causing quite a bit of damage. I did just speak with a gentleman whose mother was inside at the time this all went down. She called her son and said that she heard several shots fired. She did not see if anyone was hit or injured. The St. Joseph County Metro Homicides Mobile Unit is out here right now. They have a long night ahead of them investigating. Well, there is quite a bit of division in the neighborhood. There are some folks who say they really want to see more families come to the area. So they would like to see single family homes with yards. Another issue in this area near Coquillard Park, people tell us there is a lot of litter. People simply not caring, throwing things on the ground, and people are fed up. One of the things that people were praying for as they stood around remembering Nate was for someone to come forward, anyone who knows anything, and give police some information. Police say in this type of weather, if you can, stay home. And when there's this much snow on the ground, I say, hey, what better thing to do than stay at home, make some snow angels. It's a great time to get out with the kids. As you drive by Elkhart's busy Bristol Street Martins, it's nearly impossible not to think about a heartbreaking January night.
2 innocent young women, Crystal and Rochelle. Their lives were tragically ended.
But in the wake of that tragedy came a heartwarming response.
This was an example of folks refusing to be defined by evil.
A community banding together, their strength now illustrated by a statue standing out front.
I felt like the words on the heart were perfect. Love, hope, unity. This whole event has given a lot of people hope. It has brought the community together.
We are deeply honored. And that's insufficient, what I'm saying.
The heart will serve as a reminder of 2 women whose lives were unfairly cut short.
Every time I drive by, which will be every day, I'll see it and think of her.
And the courageous community that didn't let that horrible night define them.
I guess I didn't know there were this many nice people around and caring people. Elkhart is a city with a heart.
We spoke to several people back then who were frustrated. They claimed to be victims of the Franklin brothers scams, and they all wanted to know why Rick and Gary weren't in prison for allegedly ripping people off repeatedly. Now, turns out police have been investigating their stolen property dealings for over a year, and now the Franklins and an accomplice are behind bars.
If I was doing something illegal or against the law, I would think the police would be here.
That's what Rick Franklin had to say to us back in April when we confronted him about several residents' allegations that he and his brother Gary were ripping them off.
I would talk to anybody you get. If you get somebody that says, I've got a complaint with Rick Franklin, I will talk to them.
Turns out multiple people had complaints. In a federal indictment filed last week, Rick, Gary, and an accomplice named Richard Maxson are accused of stealing trucks and construction equipment and trying to sell them. As part of the elaborate scheme, they bought Chinese trailers and used those titles and VIN numbers on the stolen property, making it seem legitimate.
We checked the title. It came up as clear, so I thought, let's set up a time to go meet and get it.
Earlier this year, Jason Sivany drove all the way from Minnesota to pick up a trailer from the Franklins. Shortly after he got home, he found out it was stolen.
This guy and his brother have been in and out of jail since 1995. I do know the trailer that I bought was stolen from Michigan. So I'm just wondering how the heck these guys are still on the street.
It's a question many folks have been asking about the Franklins for years. And now they're left wondering, will these federal charges actually keep them behind bars? Now, we've of course told you before about Gary and Rick's criminal histories. They're quite lengthy. Back in the 90s, Gary was convicted of several home improvement and landscaping scams, and Rick pleaded guilty in 2004 to running a very large stolen property ring from South Bend to Kentucky. So they have that long history, and at this point it appears
they aren't changing their ways.
The massive manhunt for 40-year-old Michael David Elliott started Sunday night when the convicted murderer somehow escaped from a correctional facility in Ionia, Michigan. Police say he traveled a few miles on foot before carjacking a woman nearby. He eventually stopped for gas more than 100 miles later across the Indiana state line in Middlebury.
Yes, I'm at a Gallup station in Indiana.
Police say the woman got away from Elliott by asking the station clerk for a cup for water, then locking herself inside a bathroom and calling 911.
As long as you're in there, you're safe, so don't open up the door.
Elliott decided not to wait around and fled the scene in the woman's red Jeep Liberty. Police found it more than 12 hours later in a Shipshewana neighborhood Monday afternoon.
The car was located by residents right over here at 400 North State Street this morning. We know that it was there as early as 5:30, but it was reported at about 12:15 this afternoon.
Police went door to door searching for Elliott, even placing a nearby school on lockdown, but they found no signs of the convict. Then around 5:15 Monday night, police in LaPorte County received a report of a car being stolen at Aero Metals. An employee left his keys in the ignition, and Elliott saw it as an opportunity. 2 minutes after the call was dispatched, a deputy quickly spotted the stolen car and a pursuit ensued. It ended with stop sticks blowing out the stolen car's tire and Elliott in handcuffs.
Once we placed him in handcuffs and stood him up, we did another pat down and didn't find any wallet or identification, and I asked him his name, and he told me his name was Michael Elliott.
At first it was, we kind of looked at each other, me and Deputy Wright looked at each other, and now we couldn't believe it that this is the person that we were actually looking for, and he was on the run for all this time.
Now as police try to piece together what happened between the time Elliott ditched a car in Shipshewana and was arrested in LaPorte, Michigan prison officials are trying to figure out why it happened in the first place.
I will be demanding a very thorough investigation. It's obvious that there were some flaws in our security.